What's up guys, DJ Mike James coming at you again. This is video 2 of me going over my Rode case, my board, my wireless mics, my 2-unit drawer, and how I use that stuff. But let's get into this. This is the actual brain of my operation. I love this board. I've been using it probably 5 years. When I bought my first one was probably about 5 years, maybe 6 years ago. This is actually my second one because I bought this new one and then I had another one and I ended up selling it with another DJ setup. But this is the Rockville RPM870. It is, they say it's a 6,000 watt programmable powered mixer. We'll get you some shots around and I'll probably do some voiceover on that, but I do want to go over quite a few of the things that that this board offers, and it's super versatile. There's a lot of really cool stuff on here, and let's get into it. So we've got two powered outs here on the back of the board, and I'll show you that here in just a few minutes. We've got speak on outs, and then we've got 1/4-inch phono outs. I like to use the speak on outs because it is a balanced signal out. It's a balanced signal to your speakers. If you do have speak on, you get a much better, because since we are running power out of this side, you definitely want to get yourself a much better cable, because these cables are handling the power out of this board, and that power is about 750 by 2 at 4 ohm, and it is roughly 500 by 2 at 8 ohm. So technically we'll be running with one speaker on each side. We'll be running like 250 watts a side, and then if you piggyback in parallel 2 speakers off of that, you're technically going to be running that at about 375 watts a side, which I do that quite a bit, and I was doing that at the club because I was running 4 tops, and then my subs are powered so they don't pull any of that off of this board. The board has a lot of options on it. This has the XR2 balanced mic preamps. You've got phono input, so if you wanted a microphone and an instrument, you would be able to do that on both of these. Sorry guys, I'm doing this upside down, so I'm going to try to look here. So you got a line in phono, and you got a line in balanced XLR. So if you wanted to run a microphone and a guitar for one single person, a microphone and a keyboard, a microphone and a bass, a microphone and someone's running drum triggers and they have a single line in, that's excellent. You can have that come in, they come pre-balanced and whatnot. If you are using higher outputs on this, you do have a pad button, which is super handy, because if you're running a high output instrument, like you're going straight into the board from, say, like a guitar amplifier or something that's super high output, you use this pad button and it'll level that out. It'll actually level out that super high gain input so that it's easier to handle in your mix. On this particular board, these are passive outs on this side. It does have 6 mono channels, so all of these are mono, with one stereo channel being your 7/8, which gives you a stereo function, which is great for your RCA inputs from your laptop. If you're using a flash drive, this also has Bluetooth capability, which is all be considered on your stereo channel, so you'll get a right and left signal. I run my computer in mono so that I'm not battling a left-right type of situation, but there is a lot of stuff to go over in this. There's a super heavy duty fan in here. This thing blows hard, and I love that, because the cooler your equipment is, the better off it's going to be. You do have a gain, which is really just announcing how much, since I use these microphones more than anything, because I do have 4 wireless mics and I plug them in. I'll go over that here in another video, and I do plug those in. These gains are set up. I have these turned off because I'm not using 1 and 2 right now. You do have auxiliary outs, and you do have, I'm trying to look and see, what does that one say?
Return.
Your auxiliary and your return, and this is if you're going to run the signal from your board out into something else. And this is for if you're going to tape record, or if you want to record your entire mix, whether you're running tracks, your microphones, your instruments, you can tape out of this and record the entire mix throughout the entire board. So everything that goes to the microphones, all the instrumentation, background music, if you're running that, beat machine, something along those lines, you can run that out and record it. The other thing you can do with this is if this wasn't quite enough and you needed to power into something else, you have an RCA out to power to something else, and that way you could have a more speaker options. Now, off of the passive outs, this is where I rub my subwoofers off of. This does have a bunch of different EQs on there. As you can look through here, we've got high, mid, low, lows on each channel, and you're able to go ahead and adjust the input signal before it hits your amp. And then you also have a 7-band stereo EQ left and right that'll allow you to fine-tune both sides of that so that you can actually get that in there. This does have a 24-bit digital effects processor in it with 16 pre-programmed effects. So if you want to run, I mean, it's all your standard usual suspects, you know, flangers, chorus, reverb, things along those lines. I use a little bit in my mic. You can see where I have mine set out just to get a little bit of echo, like a sort of like a medium room or a large room reverb to give you kind of that fuller sound when you're out there, and you can adjust that on your effects slide here. You can also adjust those effects levels with the corresponding color coded. So you have your effects button in orange, your effects levels on your mics are on the orange buttons also. So as we go down, you can see we have a pan left and right. That was really helpful if you want to run this as mains off of one side, monitors off the other. You can pan your signal. Say you want your microphone in your main on your or your monitor on your side of the stage, you would pan that to that side, and that would allow you to do that. They're super easy slide faders, which are silky smooth. I really like having that. This is your 7 and 8 for your stereo channel. This is just your overall main. I always leave mine up. I know people are like, oh, you know, zero it or what have you, but if at max, I can adjust where my stereo signal is coming out at and how loud that actually gets. And then I can also do that with my mics. But when I get into my mics have preamp gains on the receiver itself, so I can adjust both of those to get the best quality sound out of my board. This thing is crystal clear. Like I said, these XDR2 inputs are awesome. You do have a clip meter here, left and right. You do have phantom power, which you would use if you were using a condenser microphone. We do have an EQ mute, and the beauty of this mute is that you can mute your EQ, make adjustments. Of course, this is using your headphones, and before it ever hits the mix or before it ever hits anything coming out of your mains, you can make that adjustment in your headphones, unmute it, and it goes seamlessly. You can actually go right into the next thing. Like I said, it does have Bluetooth capability. It is a really good powered mixer. It has a lot of power. I've used it in huge venues. It's done really well. Like I said, this is my second one. I would not hesitate to get another one if need be. I use this all the time. It is rather large. It's a little bit heavy. I'll get into that. I believe it's 23 pounds when I look into the specs on it. And then you add that, you know, with the, you know, the slant plate for my board and everything else I have in there. It makes my road case pretty close to 100 pounds. I mean, it's up there. It's between 75 and 100 pounds. I mean, if I was just guessing. Another function on this that I want to go into real quick is you do have the soloing button, and this is again used with your headphones. So say you're micing a band, and you've got, you know, a guitar and a mic and a bass and a mic and the things that I'd said before. Now you can solo that, and in your headphones you will hear that channel on its own, so you can balance that mix, you can EQ that mix on its mono channel, and then unsolo it to have it actually come out through the mains. Now the original signal will still come through the mains, but you'll be making those adjustments. Only you will be the only one that'll be able to hear those adjustments until you unsolo that, and that way it adds to that mix, the overall mix. Like I said, really good piece of equipment. I've been using this I would have to say 6 years after I burnt up my other one. Well, I didn't burn it up, but I ended up selling it because I needed something bigger. It just wasn't pushing enough power for the club that I was working in at the time, and then this came in and just really fit the bill. So the Rockville RPM870, I've been a big proponent of this board. Like I said, it is a little big, it's a little cumbersome, but for all that you get out of this piece of equipment and everything that it does offer, I mean, I just love it. Like I said, this is an amazing piece of equipment. If you have any questions or anything about it, like I said, add a comment in the comments, and I'll get back with you about it. But I love this thing. We'll do some shot arounds here, and maybe I'll cover some other stuff that I didn't really get into. But I pretty much covered just about everything that this thing does. It does have another thing I do like about it is your stereo. You do have a stereo high and low. So if you just want to bump just a little bit more bass, you know, you kick that up just a little bit. You want a little more crispiness on it, you kick those up, and those only affect your input that you're putting into the stereo mode. Everything else pretty much stays the same. Your mics pretty much stay the same. And this is a stereo, what they call your MP3 in, because if you're DJing like we are, or like I am, you know, sometimes we want just a little more thump, we want a little more crispiness if we're washing out a little bit, and I love having that little bit of extra control. So we'll do some shoot around on this so you guys can see it. It is also mounted to my pan, so if you watched my other video, I'll tip it up so you can see. I actually mounted it to the slant pan, so it does not slide around in my box. I ended up using a little bit of grease paint on the feet. I set this on here where I wanted it to go, and drilled through, and these mount right into the footholes that were on this board originally. So I can flip this thing upside down. It is not coming out. You want to get a little shot of the back there, since I have it up already. You can see what I was talking about. You do have these double outputs, but only one will work at a time. You know, I thought to myself, hey, if I can run speak onto this set of speakers and 1/4 inch to another set, it does not work that way. You can only use one set at a time. I guess it'll cancel the other one out. Whichever one you have plugged in turns the other signal off. So, you know, I was like, oh, I'll get smart and I'll just run speak-ons to these, and I'll run 1/4 inch to some monitors or something. It will not work. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is the brain of my operation, apart from my laptop, and this thing pretty much controls all of my sound, all of my power, especially to my tops, all of my passive outs to my subs, and all of those things that I do and that we do as DJs on a weekly basis. Love this thing. I beat the crap out of it. I've had it a long time. I mean, I push it. I mean, even when it's redlining, it's still 5 dBs below clip. So, I mean, with that being said, they built in a lot of safeguards in this, so you're not blowing this piece of equipment unless you're just really abusing it. But like I said, look into it. It is linked on my channel as one of the pieces of equipment that I use. If you're interested in something like this, or a board of this nature, if you're running passive tops and powered subs, I know a lot of people are running just powered tops, powered subs, and a passive mixer. I'm a little bit old school that way. I do like running passive tops and a powered board, because I mean, again, everything's all in one case for me. So with that being said, the Rockville RPM870. I'm a huge fan. Like I said, I've been promoting this thing ever since I bought my very first one. Love it. I probably would not get another piece of equipment unless I was doing something just for tiny little events, and maybe get something tiny in power just to run, you know, a couple 12s or some tops. But let me know what you guys think about it. If you guys have this, know somebody that's had it. I know Rockville takes a lot of heat sometimes, you know, as far as their digital products and things, you know, along those lines, but I have not had a single issue with this board or my previous board, which is still in use today. So let me know what you guys think. I'd love to hear from you. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe.